fortunately for me, I got a contract when I was 13 years old at RKO. And I had to lie about my age. I told them that I was 18 and I was only 13 because they were not hiring minors at that time. And I did my first tap number in New Faces of 1937 with Milton Berle, Victor Moore, all those big stars. And then I got my second film as Life of the Party, and I had one speaking line. It was, okay, let's get hot. Then, I think that was it. It's been so long ago. Then I got to do Stage Door, and Ginger Rogers gave me my first speaking part. And I got to dance with Ginger. But from then on, then I was starred in a huge musical at MGM with Milton Berle again, Victor Moore, and all these wonderful people, Helen Broderick. It was huge. It spent over $1 million, and at that time, that was a big, big, big amount of money.
And what was that movie called?
That was called Radio City Revels. And then they borrowed me from Columbia Studios, borrowed me from RKO, and I did You Can't Take It With You when I was 15, and I played a married woman, Essie Carmichael, Jean Arthur's sister, the ditzy ballerina, who Misha Auer kept saying confidentially, she stinks. And then I went back to RKO, my home studio, and I did, with the Marx Brothers, Room Service. And of course, they were all wacky, and I adored them, but they were crazy as the devil. And then I left, and I went and did a big Broadway show. I starred in the George White Scandals when I was 16 years old on Broadway, 1939 and 40. Then I came back to RKO on one picture deal. I was only getting like 150 a week. Came back to RKO Studios at $5,000 a week to do Too Many Girls with George Abbott. It was that huge Broadway show that was such a big smash hit. And I starred with Lucille Ball in that, and Desi Arnaz. And I introduced Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz. They came in on a sound stage one afternoon. I was rehearsing with Hermes Pan. And I said, oh, by the way, and George Abbott was with, I said, have you met Desi Arnaz? And it was kind of like love at first sight. And when I see Lucy Jr., I always say to her, you know, Lucy, you wouldn't have been born if it hadn't been for me.
So when you went to MGM, you must have gone under a major contract.
Well, yes, I did. I won that part over about 15 girls, Easter Parade. But I had to audition for it. And I was so thrilled. But Fred Astaire wasn't too thrilled about me in the beginning because I was too tall for him. I had to wear ballet slippers when I did It Only Happens When I Dance With You. I had to wear ballet shoes with that beautiful dress I had on with all the feathers and everything. But nobody seemed to notice it too much because they were dyed the same color as the dress. But I was really too tall. Now I've shrunk an inch. If I almost went, now I'm shrunk. But I wish I could have worn high heels with him, but there was just no way I could wear high heels, you know.
So what was your first encounter with Mr. Mayer when you were signed there? Tell me how that
Well, L.B. Mayer met me when I was under contract to Columbia Studios.
Can you say that again? Because I was talking
All
in
right.
your line.
Pardon me. L.B. Mayer met me when I was under contract to Columbia Studios because his best friend was a man called Frank Orsatti and the Vic Orsatti, the Orsatti brothers, and they were my agents. And my mother and myself were invited over to the Orsatti house one night for dinner. And I sat next to Mr. Mayer. And Mr. Mayer invited us both to go dancing with him. And we all, the whole group, the whole party, we all went to the Macombo and we went dancing. And we had a wonderful evening. And then about 3 or 4 days later, he invited my mother and myself up to his home on a Sunday night where he ran movies, and he invited at least 15 or 20 stars that came in with their husbands and their wives. And I got to know him more or less socially. But that was a long time before I ever did Easter Parade. When I did Easter Parade, Mr. Mayer was married to a lovely lady called Lorena Danker. And he, was just there on that lot. And apparently was very pleased that I did so well in the part. But that's been a long time ago. You know, it's hard for me to remember too much. But he was a lovely man, L.B. Mayer. I've heard so many people, so many stars that say so many terrible things about him. And it surprises me because I thought he was one of the nicest people in show business. For one thing, he never liked anybody cursing around him.